Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hump day, as you would call it around my parts. Welcome to another Tactical Perspective Hot Mic for December 6th. Yeah, Wednesday. For those of you who aren't retired, just a little boost. You're halfway there through that work week. And tomorrow is December 7th. And December 7th, as we know, is going to be some new news coming from a con about our beloved Joe line. It's been advertised. Don't ask me what stuff it was. I wasn't prepared to write down the title of the con or where it's happening, but Hasbro's going to give us some new news tomorrow, and hopefully a bit more before Christmas. And you know, if you watch that Viper Eye update, they went over that 2024 line and what we can expect there. And, you know, there's expectation, basically, that Hasbro is going to come and supplement some of that with some photos, maybe, or some new rumors, or new leaks, or new whatever. Ooh, we all want it, right? So, Hot Mic, I'm just going to be talking about some stuff to pass the time. I have made no qualms about joking about it, guys. I'm basically your bathroom break, right? Like daily bathroom break. If you're my age, that's about a half hour. Anyways, so yeah, some things we're going to talk about on Hot Mic today with the Crystal Crow. We're going to, tactical perspective wise, I got to remember, I got to keep applying that. Sometimes I forget to. We're going to talk about what I think about the ORing announcement recently. I'll talk about some live streams, the concepts of that, and just the fun I've been having there. So much fun. I'll be talking about something that's very important to me, the Joes we don't have yet, and not the Joes that we see in the 82-84 line, but I will be talking briefly about stuff like that, but some Joes we don't have that maybe we need in this new culture of G.I. Joe resurgence in 2024, let's say. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and then you know me and my Joes and woes and how I see everything. I've got my slideshow ready to support a lot of this, but I'm also going to talk about good old BBQ and what his secondary call sign is, unfortunately, based on some humorous memory I have of guys that I've served with in the military and some stuff they were stuck with. And it's all just lighthearted fun, guys. But, you know me, that's all I'm really about. I'm not actually what you would call a crow of judgment, per se. And I'm going to put this tablet like this today. I'm not this guy, the crow of judgment. I am always just trying to keep it light and things like that. So I want to start today by just going back. Remember I talked about the way Joe can kind of broaden into other markets. And I touched on this video game for a second, and I kind of danced around the point, but didn't really get to the point on one of it. Marvel Strike Force, if you guys aren't playing this and you're big Marvel fans, I would ask, you know, maybe have you checked it out and really looked at it, because it's not a pay-to-play game. But I was always really impressed with their character renderings. You can spin the characters around, you do all the dress, you can upgrade them and do all this stuff. But as you build them up, you're trying to build teams. And I didn't show you what the combat was like. And there's cinematics for every character. Like when this guy stands still long enough, he'll start moving around doing stuff. So that's traditional of Killmonger, the character. And they all do this, right? And there's hundreds of characters. But there's a squad I formed up called the Death Seed Squad, and you got Magneto and Archangel, Psylocke. They changed his name to Nemesis, but I remember when he was called Holocaust. And the Dark Beast, and I have them up against the Sinister Six. And what you get is just squad-based, turn-based combat with some really cool animations and cinematics. And just the point is to defeat them, and they have several different areas and whatnot to do that in. And different ways to play, like several different ways to play. You can play wars with your alliance online, and you can play privately, just killing time, and you can explore and do all this stuff. And Marvel's done a good job, like really putting their emphasis on their characters and not so much trying to just give you a pick and play game. They put a lot of personality to each of them. And the point is, guys, I think this is a game that if G.I. Joe were to release a game like this, they would find a lot of success, because Marvel Strike found a lot of success because this formula worked well and they had a good team for it. So I just wanted to bring that up. Let's talk about live streams for a second, guys. That is something very new. The Crow is having a little bit of fun learning about. I've only participated in a couple of them because I am not a regular YouTube guy. I'm a, I was watching the videos I liked on the toys and a few other things. Then I stumbled into making them, but I still wasn't like massively watching a lot of YouTube stuff. And one I never participated in was a live stream. So now I've checked those out a couple of times. I've checked out its Chad's a couple of times. It started with he was talking to Articulated Ninja. Then I watched another one, and I'm learning about these other products through these guys, and I'm having a great time doing it. But there's an awkwardness that goes on because I am so new to all this, and I am coming back to the Joe line. So when we get to certain topics, I find I'm really out of my element. So this is how I learn, and I really enjoy participating in yours. Last night, I was on one with Aaron. Aaron, the toy enhancer, had his live stream last night. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And it was very informative too. He's got a lot to show you guys, and if you haven't checked it out, do check out Aaron the Toy Enhancer's live stream from December 5th. It was great. He even had a giveaway, guys, and he gave away a full Viper set to just a dude that was really participating in the discussion. It was a random draw, and that dude turns around and gives it to another dude. Man, I love this community. Anyways, if you can read that, it just says, I thought this was funny. Crows have been known to troll animals by pulling their tails. It's a strategy used to distract an animal from eating so the crow can take their food. Sometimes they just do it for fun. I can't think of a better way to describe what it was. One of the things Aaron, we had a lot of guys join. Everybody was having a blast in the conversation. We got to meet Aaron's significant other, Missy. She was very, very helpful to him in the post while he worked so hard to stay on topic and teach us on what he was there to show us. I'm going to show you what he did. Pretty much, but those awkward moments, like I said, the military trained me to always try and be, polite, do the right thing and whatnot. And I'm the kind of guy that with my ADHD, I mention it every show. I'm the kind of guy that sometimes doesn't pick up on things right away. I have to sit back, think about it. Oh, that's how they saw it. Now I understand what they were asking me, or things like that. I get very socially awkward in conversations. It's kind of why I like YouTube, because I don't necessarily have to interact if I don't want to. It's not like going to a convention where you have a million people and some people will ask you stuff and everything like that. But I found it a little awkward. Aaron flattered me a little yesterday on his live stream, and I'm not the guy that's like looking for his name out there. I'm not this like, yeah, he said my name. I'm more like, where is this? Like, so awkward about it. Like, do it again. There it is. I've got this awkward little, thank you. And I realize I got to get over that, like if I'm going to put myself out there on YouTube, I better get used to getting, feedback from others the way I give it to them, right? Like it's only right. That's my little hang up. But Aaron, thanks very much for your kindness. So what did Aaron do last night? Okay, so Aaron had found himself, I missed the first couple of minutes of the stream. I was dealing with some stuff, but Aaron had gotten his hands on a busted down whale. Something very much like what you would see in a Value Village or a Salvation Army or a garage sale, something like that, where a lot of the pieces were busted up, but he had all the parts. But he walked us through what he inspects it for, to see if that, when you find a carcass, a whale carcass, can you salvage it? And so he walked us through what his priority of search is when he's going over the carcass, to say, are the nubs for the wheel hub functional? Are they snapped right off? Because it's too much of a hassle if this particular piece is not going to be able to be worked. Like, then I won't even buy that, right? So the point was, he put together a fully functional, great whale, ready to play, ready to display. Hey, go Roadblock. You remind me when I'm rhyming. Okay, that's why you're here. He did this for under $40, guys. I think it was $40 or $50 by the time he was done, from using his parts supplies and a lot of adaptive know-how and conversion materials because he is a diorama and hobbyist, right? So he has his workshop like everybody would. Little pieces of wire, clippers, just a boring tool, a little boring tool. I can't remember what we call those, like a pinholing tool, things like that. And he systematically restored this thing back to its ideal condition, just through a 1 to 1.5 hour video while talking to all of us, and did that. And I thought that was really cool. That thing was ready to play all day when he did that. So it's really good. But I felt awkward in that. At one point, I had said the comment, that thing is ready for a bathtub war. And just like when I noticed with It's Chad and with all the other conversation that happens, I notice it kind of goes to that darker humor, right? Like some sexual innuendos, and it eventually comes down to dicks, guys. But I realize I'm like, that is so familiar to me from the military and all of that stuff, right? That dark humor. And I've been so hesitant to show that side of me. You see me, I try not to swear too much. That's another thing Aaron and I have in common. Like, we'll swear if it's the right moment to swear, but we're not this. We try to be a little bit cleaner about it, and I feel we have that in common. That was really cool. But military humor, guys, we can go on and on and on, and sometimes we will just overstep, right? Like, it's one of the biggest complaints we have as veterans is, like, you never know when your joke is going to cross that social line now. Like, these dudes sitting around being happy, you're common soldiers, you think it's about the situation they're in. No, they just got a wicked burn on somebody's tiny dick or something like that, and they're making dick jokes or sex jokes or drug jokes or whatever. They are dark humor too. Killing jokes. And you see them all over the web when a military guy actually makes a meme and things like this, like stuff like this. We play pranks and games. We have legendary stories and all of that. And that's kind of where I go with the barbecue story today. But morale, it's all about morale, guys. Without morale, you can't ask a soldier to do the things he's doing and never go home and feel good at night, right? Like, you need to have that morale for your team to function in high stress environments and do all that stuff. And sometimes the morale comes off the back of the new guys, right? Like memes come up and do all that, and they can be lighthearted and funny. They can be dark, and sometimes they can be actually harmful. So military guys have to really be cautious with the way we use our humor sometimes. Like this one was a meme. There it was. And a safety brief was born that day. And there he is flicking a machete. Like, every Army guy gets that. Every Army guy would take that 12 steps further and eventually get, sex involved and things like that. And we get vindictive and spiteful or with our humor, right? Like, won a war, lost a war kind of differences on uniforms and things like that. But I always just try to keep that back, because the last thing I want to do is antagonize myself while I'm trying to learn my way through the YouTube community and find my place here, right? So, ORing, recent. Are you going to do it twice? Recently we got that up and down, and I'm only loosely tracking ORing, guys, so take nothing I say as carved in stone. But my understanding from what I'm hearing is that Hasbro has, or it wasn't Super 7, I think it's Hasbro is going to do ORing now. They were kind of saying, no, it's going to stop at that Transformers crossover support stuff. A couple of packages with vehicles will be done. And I guess now they are retracting, if I understand this correctly. Anyways, ORing's coming back, apparently. And like I said, I had to remember what ORing was, right? Oh yeah, it's how they were put together. That's right. Yeah. So I've had ORing, and I remember the classic line ORing, and I've been watching what other guys are talking about and whatnot. And this is a digitally rendered image of some ORing products, I guess. And you can see, like, it's not like it was in 82, 84. Yeah, they did the classic figures, but there's just something cleaner about the design and the paint a little bit. The paint's still not super high detail, but it doesn't look sloppy. The thing I had about comparing old figs to new figs was the faces were always bland and the same. These still seem rather bland, but the paint looks clean enough that they're more they're less eye-catchingly so. Um, and there's some potential in lines like that. Like I've seen other figures and whatnot. So yeah, the interest in O-ring is there. I suppose I could see myself probably picking up a few, but really, what we see with Super 7 in their line, those are massive peg warmers. Everywhere I see them, it's just like there is no shortage of Super 7, and every imaginable type of figure is available. I don't see anyone that's like going, can't find this, because I don't see anyone buying them. Right. And I look at that price tag and I understand why. They're always on some sort of reduction sale because they're always sitting at 20 something or $30, right? Like it's almost the cost of a 6-inch classified. So I was like, no, and there's no articulate, like barely any articulation. It's an homage to an original old concept. They're like Star Wars, the old Star Wars figure. Fight me now, Vader. So there was little interest in that. So when I see the O-ring coming out with a new design, I'm right away. I feel like I've been spoiled on classified as far as articulation, high detail. Yeah, there's ups and downs with this market, but I feel like I would be less satisfied by O-ring as far as the figures. Now, vehicles, we can get into a whole other rabbit, but I want to kind of know where you guys stand, because I know you guys are my age. I know the the dangling fruit of having that stalker again, like, and it fits in your hand the way you remember it as a kid, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Some of you are really hardcore collectors, some of you not so much. What do you guys think about O-ring? So I'm going to talk to you now about the new Joes that I think need to start coming in. So I talked about Hasbro a while ago, and did they fit in with the new culture, basically, right? Like, listen, guys, I'm not woke. I kind of hate woke culture personally. I think it brought a lot of drama for little change, and then a lot of change over a little drama. But I just don't invest my emotions or personal sense of being into any of this. And honestly, if you want me to call you whatever, I'll call you whatever. But just it's my business, it's your business, and I keep it at that. But when it comes to diversification and realism, I kind of advocate for that, because I think, these have a responsibility to be what they were like originally supposed to be. It was a reflection of the U.S. Armed Forces and things like that, and possibly the international forces. But this already unit, and it had this massive draw to all these veterans, and we salute you, Hasbro, for continuing this line. But when you look at the ratio of characters who are not Caucasian and characters who are not male throughout that series line, there's a couple of key points that I'm going to address with these next group of characters. 13 new characters, really quick, and just for fun. Those stop gaps are that if you're a female named Scarlet, you might get a repaint, but everybody else, you get one. You get one of you, and that is it. And there's not that many of you out there. You get like maybe 4 or 5 females, depending on what team you're for, maybe 7 combined. And then with the African American males, the Latinos, the Asian males, all the other nationalities that aren't Caucasian, we just keep repeating the key character that seemed to get the best reception out of that. In this case, Roadblock or Heavy Duty, right, or Stalker. And then yeah, that was it for the line. So now Hasbro's re-releasing everything, and they're doing a fantastic job with their sculpts. They're putting some extra stank on these characters to not only just make them their traditional selves, but put that extra effort in to make them something special, right? So in doing that, if you want to appeal to your market, you got to remember your market changed since the 80s. It really did. We have to accept it. And if we're going to stick to the reflect the market, reflect the armed forces, reflect today, we have to add some new trades. And I'm going to tell you what they are right now. Let me grab that. And this is all just for fun, guys. And I'll just give you a trade. I'll show you a couple pictures, and I'll tell you their call signs. And then we're going to talk about barbecue. All right? Bear with the crow. You know he's slow. Everything on my time. You guys could always just fast forward. Okay, so 1. G.I. Joe doesn't have a dedicated padre. Why don't they have a dedicated Padre? The existence of a Padre in a military armed force does have its place in keeping your troops' morale and principles and values in the proper light, and can really help with traumatized soldiers. Why don't G.I. Joe have a Padre? I see his call sign being Holy Roller or High Road. The cooks, we know that. He's a good chef and Shipwreck is not, but who really is the dedicated cook? You need your guys on the feed line. There's some happy Canadian soldiers working in a field kitchen. Whoopsie. That's Holy Roller. And then there's some of your guys, and I've eaten at your kitchens when I was been deployed and working on exercise with you guys. So I do see the values of cooks, those unsung heroes. So what would their call signs be? Soft serve or gravy train? I see it, and you can picture any figure you want. We'll just remold it till it works and repaint it. A weapons tech. Who is fixing all the guns for Joe? If Joe has a misfire, who's saying it's not Joe's fault he had that misfire, and who's saying it's the gun's fault? Well, that's a weapons tech up here in Canada, and they're also the locksmiths and the guys who deal with the really delicate parts. They have good hands, right? So I'd call him blacksmith or checkfire. Maintenance guys. So you telling me between cover girl and oh, there's a weapons tech in another sense, the AVN weapons tech. So the guys are making sure all the bombs go boom. Maintenance guys, I didn't get any pictures of them. I skipped over that by accident, but think about it. Who do you have doing maintenance on all the vehicles? Cover girl and Shipwreck. You need maintenance crew, right? So put out a couple of maintenance guys. Maybe they're called things like what is it, layaway, big league chew, or drip pan, and you give them a recovery flatbed that you can sit one of your new G.I. Joe vamps or a commandeered his tank or whatever on. It's got that playability factor. There you go, maintenance guys. Hey, let's talk about clerks for a minute. Joes get paid. Joes need other administrative benefits. Maybe Joes want to bump up their insurance, and they've got to do a lot of processing before promotion. That's where your clerks fall in. You could have postal clerks, paid clerks, RMS clerks, all sorts of clerks. Here's a bunch of clerks from India getting training in the field. We do take our clerks to the field, and you know what? On top of being a clerk, you guys remember what I said about every Canadian soldier's secondary job? Siri, turn off. Let's see if she does.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
No. So these clerks will take them to the field, and oh my God, Siri's blowing this. Siri, turn off. What the fuck ever. Clerks deploy on DART teams and do infantry tasks. All trades do that up here in the north. I want to talk about a trade that is specific to my house. Preventative medicine technicians. Another new Joe that comes out. But what was I going to call the clerk? Pay dirt or garnish, as in they garnish your wages if you go into debt. A PMed tech, preventative medicine technician. These were battlefield essentials ever since war was a thing with guns, right? These are the people that will help you prevent things like dysentery, gangrene, communicable diseases, infections, and preventable health concerns, right? And there is so many outside of our country we just don't even think about, and that's why they deploy everywhere and they put themselves at risk just like everybody else, and they go out to the hard places to assess things like, is the water here drinkable? Can we not get sick in this environment? These are some of the first boots on the ground when you're about to occupy an area. PMed techs are critical. Unfortunately, they are also the people you have to, when they're lower in the ranks, they have an office. And if you've got yourself a communicable disease or an STD, they're also somebody you have to visit. Now, that's not how I met my wife, guys. Relax with all your jokes about that. I actually met my wife when she was a medic about to become a preventative medicine technician. And I was a casualty sim. I was actor. And I portrayed a guy with an injury, and she treated me. And it was... I would say it was love at first sight, but I had my eyes closed for most of it. We just got to know each other after that. So her call signs or their call signs would be spot check or scrape and pray if they're working in that office. If you've ever had an STD check and a scrape, I've been told, because I haven't had one, that it is a very painful experience. Let's see, geotechs. How do you go to a country if you don't understand the land and the terrain and everything like that, or don't have any maps? Well, that's because we have guys like geotechs who work at did I pass by that picture? Yeah, I did. Okay, so geotechs are you guys that make the maps. They survey the land, they get the measurements and everything like that. They apply it on a topographic map, or they know where to get the maps and information and all that other stuff internationally, right? So you need your geotechs to sometimes explain terrain concerns or regional concerns. And if you want a prime example of why a geotech should have been talked to recently within the last few years, you guys remember Russia rolling into the Ukraine, and they got to this one area where the whole convoy had to wait, right? It was because that road, the geotechs and other would have told them that if you proceeded any further, you would get quagmired due to seasonal rains, low ground depressions, and the climate conditions that are inherent to the region, right? So, and we did see that with a lot of Russian vehicles because it was that kind of region during that. So those are the kind of things that a geotech brings to the table as far as knowledge. Now, a geotech call sign, I would see being grid line or big pictures, and they build the map and they help you understand it. But they would work in great conjunction. I see them being fire team partners with the human guys. Call sign rumor or whisper. These are the guys that go out into the areas that soldiers have to work in and check on the local populace and find out what the vibe is in the community. What is a pattern of life that is normal here? What do they do on a normal daily basis? What does it look like if I were to suddenly walk in this region? Are you guys out between the hours of 7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon doing commerce and daily activities? Great. So when we walk through the region and there's no one out in the streets, we know something's up, right? Human guys are the ones that bring that to the table, and I could see a really cool Joe for that. Either somebody, a lone agent like Eric Bana in the beginning of Black Hawk Down, when he had his mountain bike and he was coming in to get picked up, he was doing a human gathering, right? Somebody like that in the Joe collection I think would be great, and they would prevent a lot of problems. Translators. You guys know how I feel about translators, or don't you? Afghanistan, we left a bunch back there, and we all feel horrible about it, right? And I've got some strong feelings about it. I don't put on to YouTube. But translators are critical to any operation where your language isn't the language, right? You guys can all understand the importance of translators, so imagine having some Joe translators. These are all good opportunities to diversify Joe. While I am joking, diversifying Joe in the way that you can add other ethnicities and cultures. You can add more of the minorities that aren't reflected very well for a broad military sense reflection in the Joe line, and you can have more females or anything you want, right? But you don't need to go back and say we are only restricted to the 8294. Why? That wouldn't explain Helix. So let's talk about operations officers. Okay, so your commander runs the show, right? Big old General Hack is sitting back running the show, and he's in his office and he's looking at his big map and making big plans. Meanwhile, the Army has to run consistently and current with all information. They need an ops center, and that needs an officer running it. Your jock, your talk, your hub of knowledge and communications and overwatch over the battlefield on all the screens. So you need a good OPSO to be able to run a cell like that, and to keep the commander briefed on changes in the operation on a routine basis and things like that. So there you have another officer you could add to the Joe Corps that would find its place. They deploy everywhere, they do everything. You need an OPSO. And I don't see Duke, Flint, or Beachhead filling that position, really. I don't. And General Hawk's not going to do that stuff himself. So we talked about that public liaison officer, the Joe spokesman. It shouldn't be left to the Joe to talk about the Joes to the media. You know what I mean? We have people for that, people who are trained in the delicate nature of information handling so as to not compromise things like operational security and the safety of soldiers who are deployed and their families or the operations that are being conducted jointly with other nations and sabotaging those by releasing information that wasn't ready to be released. People seem to think that the military is up to always duplicitous and cloak and dagger stuff, and that's what we're not talking about. No, sometimes what we're not talking about is saving hundreds or thousands of lives, and when we're ready to talk about it, it means those lives are no longer in danger. So back the fuck off. Sorry, but I have an opinion on media as well. I find media opportunists. They know about the existence of these officers. They know they are supposed to go through them when they want to do an interview about something that's happened overseas. But I have worked too long in the forces to know that they plead ignorance, and they will call whatever number they find in any army building. And if it's a private who has not been trained in such sensitivities, they will get big hot scoops on what that private is, misquote them, realize it's out of context and whatnot, and maybe you'll read the retraction later, but whatever, that headline grabbed. That's the dangers of media, and we all get briefed on it, right? So a public liaison officer for the Joes, I could see a place for that. In with the maintainers and whatnot. So the public liaison officer, I missed a couple. The translators, I would have called them babble or wordsmith. Humint, rumor or whisper, I think I talked about that. The ops officer would be ringmaster or shepherd. And the public liaison officer would be hype or tattletale. Sorry, not keeping Kirpin on that. Just two more. The materials tech, all right? When a vehicle needs up armor, when your storage isn't properly laid out and you need more straps, or you need something made that doesn't exist in the supply system, you're turning to a mat tech. And I have good friends that are mat techs, and they're all fabricators. Either they sew it, weld it, construct it, 3D print it, whatever. They'll look into it, they'll research it, and they'll find a way to make it happen for you. Very intelligent, creative people. You wouldn't get by without them very far in our forces. It's like the way I feel about Canada and our forces sometimes, if you ever watch a guy named Red Green, he's big on gun tape. So are we. Never trust military grade guys. Mat techs I've talked about, their names would be things like, if they were good at it, we'd call them like print shop. If they were bad at it, I'd call them things like chisel hands. And the last guys we'll talk about are these guys. Very important, very important. The supply techs. These are the guys that keep everything rolling. They took a real hard time up here in North when we had to task them to help roll out the COVID vaccinations in certain remote communities. That was a sign of military oppression, and we were using these truckers to force people to whatever. Anyways, I'm gonna leave all that crap out of it. I remember them overseas. I worked with them a lot. They took all the risks we took. They took the IEDs we hit. They took their lumps like everybody else, and they worked day and night diligently to make sure that we were as best supplied as we could be with the equipment we needed it, and they ran the risk every time to get it to us out when we were out in the fobs, right? So I have a lot of respect for supply guys. I don't think anybody can go very far without them in their convoys, and you need them. So Joe's got to have a lot of them, right? The guys that are issuing them the new gear and things like that. So I picture call signs like Give and Take or Mill Grade or even Cushgo, right? Any of those guys would make good Joes. So that was just for fun, guys. Hey, let's push all these guys out of the way and let's talk about what I wanted to tell you about that secondary call sign for good old barbecue here. So it's another one of these different identities but damn true stories that the old crow shares from his time in the army. And before I get started, just remember, if you haven't done it yet, go check out our friend Loki Wartooth and his Insta site at Model Misfit 1138, guys. Wow. And I've been talking to him a lot lately, and I think now watching the channel, he understands why I ask so many questions. I'm a very specific need to know guy, and one of the things I needed to know was something that he's missing some guys that I know about here. I just need him to be a bit more specific. I might be able to hook him up. I don't know. So let's talk about barbecue. Yeah, our buddy barbecue. So the thing about barbecue is you have to understand showers. in the military, right? So showers are one of those things that date back. Everybody knows the history of the shower crew. Shut up, move on. In the military, showers are kind of a social scene of humor and wit and a lot of bullying and harassment back in the day, sure, but a lot of good-natured versions of that. That was just meant to just kind of build camaraderie and morale. So a common occurrence in the military is the post-PT shower. And you remember I talked about Sweaty Ghost there, Bazooka, and how he doesn't participate. He goes home. Well, Bazooka participates, and he's the only guy you'll ever see go into the shower wearing his helmet, right? He does that now. But it wasn't always that way. There was a time, you see, remember going to these military showers, laid out like this, big communal showers. There is no privacy in zone. And they were widely promoted in World War II. These propaganda posters were actually up, things like that. And I thought for a second I might be reading a classical humor, new dark noir homosexual novel, but no, that was an actual propaganda poster apparently. But everybody has to use these showers. You don't have preferences for people that don't want to share when you go to the field, and we build these field expedient showers, right? So after PT, the Joes would go to the showers, and if you had new guys, some of the times you play games on them, like going up to a new guy, buck naked, and while he's staring, or while he's showering, you stare at his watch and tell him he's got a nice watch, and see how awkward that makes him. Talk about his watch. Is it waterproof? Just keep looking down at his watch. Is it waterproof? See if he thinks to move the watch up. Anyways, things like that. It was always done in good nature. It was meant to make somebody feel awkward, then realize, hey, bro, we're just giving you a hard time, right? Mate? So barbecue used to be like that and everything like that. But barbecue used to take his helmet off, you know, back in the day, and he would always be, oh man, I hope we have these kind of showers. But they don't. We have the open showers like you'd see Elvis doing in his army videos and Starship Troopers. But some countries have co-ed showers, and you can see, whoa, they're all very used to showering with each other. It's a long since tradition. So old barbecue, and this is from histank.com. I don't own my images, you guys know that. Old barbecue did used to take his shower off back before he was a mad marauder, or take his helmet off. And well, barbecue had a tough day one day, and he was really exhausted. He'd been up all night fighting fires and helping Joes and doing all that. But he did make it to PT that morning, and he went out and did the guys were all showering, and he was standing next to Roadblock and Rock and Roll, and they couldn't help but notice that he was doing.
I'm sorry.
So me too. They couldn't help but notice he was doing this, staring directly at their respective packages, left and right, while guys are talking, and he had this look on his face. And everybody noticed it, but nobody said anything. They are all like, what the fuck? And carried on with their conversations. And he was doing that for a couple of minutes, till he did it to the wrong dude who took over the shower. And it was his good buddy. And his buddy caught him while he was talking. And he said, hey, barbecue, are you staring at my cock? And barbecue just turned around, no word of a lie, looked him right in the eyes. Oh, sorry there, buds. I must be pretty tired. No sooner had those words left his mouth than he looked back down, gave his head a shake, and walked out. Now, Barbecue is a great guy. He has a loving family, and he was a wonderful guy, and I loved working with him, right? But just that one moment burned him for life. He got dubbed... Where is it? From that day forward, he was, because his name was Barbecue, and, you know, you like to barbecue meat. Well, from this day forward, he was known as the meat gazer, always staring at people's meats with some sort of envy.
I found this on the web.
You did you? Good. Anyways, guys, that's my quick tale. I mean, of course, afterwards, he put on his Mad Marauder outfit and then claimed the helmet could never come off, and it hasn't. So that's it for Hot Mic this week, guys. And again, if you like that, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, comment, whatever. I can't wait Can't wait to grow this channel to the point where I can do some giveaways, man. I am having a blast watching other guys and getting inspired by them. And I am definitely getting perpetual energy off others. So that's why you keep seeing me do this, guys. If you guys want to get questions, concerns, whatever about this episode, disagree with stuff, want to state your opinion on O-ring and whether you intend to collect it or not, let me know. Hit me up with the comments. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.